Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We spoke earlier today to Eric Roth, CEO of Capella Minerals. They're chasing gold and copper in Scandinavia. And if you want our thoughts and opinions on that conversation and the company itself, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com/club, where you can also find detailed company reports, commentary from experts from around the world on a variety of commodities and companies. There are training videos on there. There are summaries of other interviews that we've done just to save you a bit of time. And of course, there's a thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other. So why not go and join them at cruxinvestor.com/club. And of course, we'd love your feedback too. So do give us a like, leave your thoughts below. And of course, if you want to see what we talked about, take a look in the description below. Eric, how are you doing, sir?
Good, thanks, Matt. Great to be with you today.
Yeah, fantastic. New story for us. Looking forward to hearing about it. So where in the world are you today?
So today I'm actually in Spain. So I spend part of the year based here in Spain and part of the year in Santiago in Chile. In fact, historically, I guess for the last 20 sort of years, I've been based out of Santiago. But I guess with the last focus over the last 10 years, we had some projects in Turkey. We've had some projects in Scandinavia. Certainly having some time based in Spain makes logistics a lot easier to get around.
Nice part of the world as well.
It is, very much so.
So whereabouts in Spain are you?
So we actually have a place here in Ibiza. So this is on the Mediterranean coast. So this is actually a place we acquired sort of after the property crash here many years ago in Spain. And I guess it was a good time to get in. And as I say, it's actually worked out really well with some of these Northern Hemisphere, certainly the European projects that we've had. So it's been fantastic. So,
yeah, nice part of the world. In fact, go on then. Whereabouts on Ibiza Island are you? I'll know.
So we're in a place called Roccaliza, which is on the east coast. So it's about halfway between Ibiza and Santa Eulalia for people who are familiar with the island.
There you go.
It's a nice place to be based. So anyway, we'll see how things go. But certainly as far as the European projects go, it's a fantastic place. Much easier to get around.
Absolutely. Fond memories. Right. We better talk about you there, haven't we? So why don't you tell you what, kick off, give us a 1-minute overview, and then I'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, so the company is called Capella Minerals. Our focus is Northern Hemisphere. So we basically have two gold projects in Canada, one gold project in Sweden, and two high-grade copper projects in Norway. And in the case of the Norwegian projects, these were new acquisitions. And these are former mining districts. So I think people have forgotten that countries like Norway actually had a mining industry. But Capella basically is a TSXV listed company. We had some projects in Argentina until recently. And the reason for divesting those essentially is more for jurisdictional risk rather than technical issues with projects per se. So as you know, Argentina is not flavor of the month for all investors. So we've decided that it makes sense for us to really focus on those jurisdictions where people are comfortable for us to operate in.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that summary. I know someone on your board, Glenn Parsons. I know him, good guy. Tell me a bit about you though, and is Glenn is he active on your board? How have you met? How did you come to work together?
Yeah, so the team involved in Capella actually came out of Mariana Resources, and for your London or UK-based investors, they would probably remember Mariana from as it was listed on AIM for many, many years. So basically, it's the old Mariana team. So on my side, I was and of course Mariana had the Hot Maden discovery in Turkey, and the company was acquired in 2017 by Sandstorm. So what we've done is we had a winning formula in terms of the team. So Glenn, of course, was part of that team. He was CEO of Mariana. Now he has gone on to be CEO of our sister company, which, as you know, is Awali Resources, and they have the project in Ivory Coast. And I stayed on this side of the portfolio, if you like, looking after what was originally the Argentine projects plus a couple of Canadian projects, and now we've added on these new Scandinavian acquisitions. So I think an important message here is that basically the team involved in both companies, Awali and also Capella, it's the old Mariana team. So it was a winning formula. It worked very well. So here we are with
okay. So what is winning formula? What does that mean? Because it doesn't sound like it was winning in Argentina. So, and I know Awali, so talk to me about what winning formula means to you.
Yeah, so to me, if I had to summarize winning formula, it's a good team, good management, and good projects. Now, and when I say good projects, they need to be good technically, but also the jurisdictional risk also needs to be manageable. And unfortunately, in countries like Argentina, we don't control the jurisdictional risk. I mean, when we acquired those projects 2.5 years ago, there was a different government in place. There was a pro-business environment in place. Of course, in the interim, there was a change of government. Things have gone backwards. And it is the roller coaster ride that countries like Argentina do have, and one has to be conscious of that. But the reality is we, as a small company, can't wait 5 years or whatever for it to turn around again, right? So at some point you have to say, look, it was the right thing to do at the time, but the circumstances have changed, and it's more because of jurisdictional risk rather than anything that we have any control over.
Okay, so again, just want to hone on what winning formula means. So, at Mariana, outside of jurisdictional risk, the team's good and the asset's good, but what did you do to that asset which enabled that to be defined as winning?
Yeah, so there's two things. I mean, so we as a company generally focus on high grade deposits. So that's number one, and the rationale behind the high grade deposits is simply that because they're high value deposits in terms of dollar per ton, they're things that can make good money at any parts of the cycle once they get into operation. So as a first thing, we've always focused on high grade deposits. We're not interested in the big deposits that take $5 billion to develop. That's not our space. Our niche is something small. I say relatively small, but high grade, and can generate some really good cash flows when it's actually in production. So that's kind of our mindset. We're not looking for the biggest deposits on the planet. We're looking for the highest quality ones, if you like. I think that's probably the best way. And we have the right people to do that. We have the right team in place to do that.
Okay, I think you kind of answered my next question, which was going to be about why abandon the Argentine focus. Okay, government change of government, and were you just out of interest, you being affected by at federal level, at state level, municipal level, or was it just across the board?
Yeah, so I have to say that Santa Cruz, which is the province we were operating in, so Santa Cruz is the southernmost province. It is pro-mining, and I do have to say we had a lot of support from the local government to push projects forward. So I guess more of our issues are the bigger picture issues where Argentina obviously has some structural financial issues, just simple day-to-day things like exchange rates, exchanging, just what we would consider sort of simple operations elsewhere become very difficult in a country like Argentina. So, and of course you've got huge inflation rates, all of these other issues. So it is a complex environment, but more at the federal level, because we did have a lot of support at the provincial level for the projects that we had. But the reality is, at the end of the day, if the thing doesn't work at the federal level, then it's difficult to push things forward.
Okay, no, that's interesting. And it's just we see a lot of Canadian companies with projects in Argentina, and some states, provinces are a little bit more receptive than others, and they are able to do business there. And as you say, municipal support, very, very, very important. Okay, so you said 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, right? That was right for then. It's not right for now. Change of plan. So business plan is now focused on the Northern Hemisphere. Is that just because it's become fashionable, or how did you end up looking at Norway, Sweden, Scandinavia?
Yeah, so I guess our interest, we've actually been sort of following Scandinavia for many years. So part of the portfolio is Canada, which I'm sure most investors, and of course we're in Ontario and Manitoba, which are sort of favorable provinces for mining. So I don't think there's any issue on the Canadian side. So with the Scandinavian side, both Norway and Sweden, if you look at all the, how easy it is to work in those countries, all of those Scandinavian countries, whether it's Norway, Sweden, Finland, they're always sort of at the top of the list, right? Because they're countries that really support businesses. There's obviously a very stable fiscal regime in which to operate. And the rules of the game are very clear. I mean, that's obviously one of the other issues that we have, in some other countries, is that the rules may not always be the same, or they're not as transparent as they could or should be. So the rationale was twofold. One is that adding on the Scandinavian projects, they're good quality projects in their own right, but they're in favorable jurisdictions where we can operate without a lot of the background noise that we had to deal with, for example, in Argentina. So it means, we can push projects further, and basically it's a much better environment to be operating in, basically. Okay,
so why don't we come back to them, and let's just deal with and be able to park up the Canadian. Okay, so you're looking at Yamana Gold JV at Manitoba. You've got the Ethos Gold JV in Ontario. Are you committed in any way financially to those? Are you involved operationally? Just tell me what you can about those projects, so I can maybe focus more on the Scandinavian opportunity.
So with the two Canadian projects, so the situation is the following. So both are operated by the other company. So in the case of Domain, Yamana is the project operator. In the case of Savant Lake, it is Ethos. So the good thing for us is that the day-to-day management is not in our hands. I mean, we obviously keep track of things as they go forward, but it's, we can sort of focus on these Scandinavian assets, which I'll get onto in a moment. And in terms of funding, so the way it currently is, so with Savant Lake, which is the Ethos Gold joint venture, they have to incur all the costs. There's no costs from our side. In the case of the Domain joint venture with Yamana, it's participating on a participating basis. So right now, we have just under a whisker of 30% on that project. If we wish to maintain that, then we need to contribute just a whisker under 30% to all the exploration budgets going forward. So the Yamana joint venture with that Domain is contributing, and the other one is the other party is putting the funds into the.
Okay, that's interesting. So Yamana Gold, just whisker under 30%. I get it. What's your commitment for 2021 to that project?
Yeah, so the plan right now, Matt, is basically, so we have an agreement in place with the First Nations group at Domain. The plan is there is some permitting going forward for some drilling. Now, the last drilling on that project was done a couple of years ago, and it was actually quite a successful program for a small program, if you like. So the plan going forward is basically for Q1 to be drilling again. That's sort of the general plan, but of course, in the interim, there's a permitting process that we need to go through, and generally permitting in Manitoba takes about 2 months or so. So I would say Q1, the plan is we hope to be drilling there. In the case of Savant Lake...
just stick with Yamana if you don't mind, Eric, please. So what's your commitment with Yamana Gold at Domain for 2021? What's the number?
So as I mentioned, the plan is to be drilling, subject to the permitting and all the, all the local discussions. So basically the plan is to be drilling there. And then, of course, on the back of that drill program, we will then see how the results look. I think it's a very good project in terms of potential. So we have a finite drill program plan, but on the back of success, we could continue. I guess that's the...
Okay. I'm trying to get a dollar number out of you. Are you committed in terms of dollars next year or not on Yamana's project?
Yeah, no, we are. So if we, with the current budget, which we circulate internally, I would expect that our commitment to that, assuming we keep the 30% interest, which I would like to do, because I do think it's a good project, we'd probably be looking at 450,000 Canadian is probably what that would be our share of the project, right?
Okay, gotcha. So how much drilling does that? How much drilling is that, Eric? I mean, is there a plan already established, and it's just a case of waiting for permits, or have you yet to make those decisions?
Yeah, so we internally have a number that we're working with. So we're hoping it'll be somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 meters of drilling. But of course, where we are right now, Matt, is that basically we haven't finalized those plans with the JV partner. So obviously, I'm jumping the gun a little bit here in terms of, we obviously need to, that's sort of what we're planning. And as I say, the plan would be on the back of success, obviously, to continue. But that would be the sort of starting point, I guess, if you like, for 2021.
Got it. Fantastic. And what existing data was there? What do you know about Domain before this next round of drilling?
Yeah, so Domain's actually had quite a bit of drilling. So it has almost 10,000 meters of drilling on it already from previous drill campaigns. So I think this is a project that can very quickly get into resource status. And that's the thing I find attractive about it. It's a nice deposit type. And we know from the drilling that's been done to date, it's only been focused on about 800 meters of strike length of what we call this main zone. But if you look at the comparable anomalies that we have to test, we probably have another 5 or 6 kilometers of strike to still test. So this is potentially something that could grow very quickly. And the other thing too with the drilling at main zone is it's not very deep drilling. So we obviously have potential to grow it at depth too. So the nice thing that I see about Domain is we have real potential to grow it along strike and also at depth. So I think it's a great project, and I think it could very quickly get to resource status.
Okay, and what sort of numbers are we looking at? What sort of grade are we looking at?
Yeah, so numbers, I think it's probably early to say, but what I can say is that we are looking at sort of a higher grade system. So most of the good intercepts are sort of in that. From the last drill program, the best intercept was running. They run about 8 grams, something like that, 8 grams per ton, which isn't bad for these kind of systems, right? So what we're looking for is something of that sort of ilk in terms of a grade. Size, look, it's too early to really say because we don't have enough drilling to give you an ounce number. But obviously, Yamana, being interested in a project like that, they obviously feel that there's multi-million ounce potential here. They wouldn't be here if they only thought there was 100,000 ounces, for example.
Yeah, no, look, big companies come in all the time, take options all the time, and it doesn't sound like they're committing a ton of money yet. But as they drill out, I guess they'll know more and they'll commit here. If at the end, what is the period for this particular option that they're taking?
Yeah, so it's open ended, so there's no time limit. One thing I will add, Matt, though, is that Yamana also actually owns a big block of ground around our joint venture area. So obviously there's potential for them to expand not just within our joint venture block, but in the surrounding block of ground. And of course, they have another project to the north of us called Monument Bay, which is a project that they've been actively exploring for a number of years. So it is a district that they do like. I think there's a lot of they do see the upside potential in there, and as I say, they do have a large land position around our joint venture area. So therefore, I think they do like the geology of that area for a big discovery. So
you're not kidding. I'm just looking at a diagram in your PowerPoint. You're a tiny little rectangle inside their very large rectangle.
They have a very large property around it. So to me, that suggests they really like that district, right? So.
Or at least they want the opportunity of saying, continuing their data set for sure. Okay, well, I guess we'll know more once if you get to start drilling in Q1, Q2 next year. We'll know more. But you're allocating 450,000 Canadian of the money you raised recently, which we'll get into in a second, to that. Okay.
Correct, yes, that's basically the plan. So to me, the interesting thing about Domain is that it's the project that we have that could quickest get to resource status. Obviously, once the permit's in place, we can get the drilling underway. But obviously, what excites the market is drilling, and we're very confident on Domain as a project. So we're really looking forward to that getting off the ground and moving forward.
You look like you could be a little thorn in the side of Yamana there. Nice, we like that. Should we go into Savant Lake?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Ethos Gold. Tell me what's going on there. What are the financial terms to that agreement?
Yeah, so Ethos Gold we just signed this agreement in September, and Ethos, just to take a little bit of a step back, they're also a group that's had a lot of success in Canada. They're part of I guess the umbrella company, if you like, is called Discovery Group, and they've been involved in a number of discoveries over the years. Just if I look in Ontario, some of their people have been involved in Great Bear Resources, which is in the Red Lake district. They've just announced on another project in Newfoundland, a company called Newfound Gold, which has had some fantastic drill hits. So the idea of joining together with Ethos was basically they also have a fantastic track record of discovery. They're efficient. They know what needs to be done, and they're very well respected in the market too. So we just felt in that case that collectively we can do more with that project than us by ourselves. So really what they're doing now is they will be pushing that project forward, and then we'll basically, we'll take that step by step. But they were really, their rationale for picking up Savant was like ours. We felt there was good potential for discovery, that the package that we put together, it's actually the first time that land package has been put together. Before it was like this little checkerboard of pieces all over the place. So it's the first time that property, it's a district scale play in very prospective ground, in very prospective part of Ontario. So essentially, Ethos has the chance to earn into 70% of the project. It's through a combination of cash to us and share payments, and also work commitments. The work commitments are about $2 million Canadian to get to the 70%, but there are also annual cash and share payments to us. So for us, it's actually a good way to take the project forward. And with the team, as I say, that's had a lot of success in their own right. So
annual cash and share amounts to what? I mean, what's the contribution to your G&A on that?
Yeah, so to be honest, I see the big value in the share component because, if we can replicate that success that they've had with some of these other companies, I think that will be fantastic for Capella shareholders. The shares as it currently stands, we would get, assuming the project goes all the way through the 3 years, then we would have 8 million Ethos shares, and it's about $200,000 in cash. There's also a bonus 2 million Ethos shares and another payment of 50,000 cash on the reporting of a 1 million ounce discovery. But where we see the upside is twofold in this. Is one, we still have the residual 30%. So if there is a discovery, we still have a direct interest in the project, but also the shareholding in Ethos. So I think this would be a good deal for Capella Minerals minerals shareholders. So I think it's a great way to take the project forward.
Okay. No, Discovery Group, know them well. Spoke with Jim last week, actually. Yeah, good group to be associated with for sure, as is Yamana. Okay, so there we go. Canada, parked. We understand. Thank you for that. So let's get on to the new focus, Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden. So how you introduce these assets, like I said earlier, is it just because it's fashionable? People are, looking at companies like Rupert Resources doing well up there, and you think, well, let's just take advantage of that, or have you really picked up something quite prospective here?
Yeah, so maybe I'll take a step back and just on how we got into Scandinavia. So this isn't something that just came up a few months ago, sort of thing. So we've actually been talking to EMX for many years, and we acquired these projects from EMX Royalty. We've had a relationship with them in Turkey. They also had a lot of projects in Turkey. So while we were working at Hot Mud and we were continually talking to them, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago, I actually did a side trip from Turkey to visit some of the Swedish massive sulfide deposits they had available at the time. So we know these guys from way back. And in fact, Derek Jensen, who's their exploration manager, I actually worked with him in Anglo Gold in Peru 20 years ago, right? So we've known these guys for a long time. This isn't something just because it's flavor of the month. The opportunity that presented itself here was simply that, so our projects in Canada are gold. We acquired one new project in Sweden, which is gold. But I also personally like base metals because I do think that, gold is obviously very buoyant at the moment. Everybody wants gold projects. And our niche, as I mentioned at the beginning, these high-grade deposits is what we have. So we have 3 projects where the focus is high-grade gold deposits. But I also do see a niche going forward for copper and particularly high-grade copper assets because I do think that we will see a lot of movement on that side. And I personally like balancing out the portfolio that way because, even though gold is buoyant, I do believe in the upside of copper as well. And in the case of the 2 Norwegian copper projects, I mean, they're quite extraordinary. These are old mining districts that have been around for, hundreds of years. But of course, a lot of that mining was very small scale, so they didn't do much in terms of extracting a lot of ore, I guess, over those years. But there's still lots of upside there. These are old mining districts and just spectacular, the potential there to still grow these. And of course, the other advantage is all that old mining infrastructure is basically in place, right? So you've got these projects where a lot of infrastructure is already in place. So we really like that because of the deposit type. Again, coming back to our sort of mantra of looking for high-grade deposits. And again, the 2 copper projects fit that bill of being high-grade copper deposits with other metals thrown in as well too. So it sort of fits our mantra of what we can do best. These high-grade deposits that on the back of a discovery, they're not mega projects in the sense of huge scale, but they can be developed very quickly, and they're very valuable deposits. Basically, that's sort of our mantra.
Okay, and you're going into old mines districts where there's not just established infrastructure, but there's a lot of knowledge about what's come out from under the ground there. How much did you pick them up from? What did these cost you? What were the terms?
Yeah, so the other attractive thing, Matt, with these deals with EMX is EMX doesn't ask for a lot of money up front, which obviously for a junior is important too. So their main position is that they take a shareholding in the company. So where we are right now, so EMX's typical business model it's twofold. One, they take a shareholding in the company. And second of all, they want you to be successful. They want a discovery to be made because they keep a royalty at the back end, right? So essentially what EMX looks for is they say, okay, we want to take a shareholding in your company, and we want to keep the royalties on these projects. So really, that's their business model. The good thing is there's not a lot of cash, as I say, because that for us is king. We need the cash to actually spend it on the projects. So for us, it's a great way to do a deal. They're obviously a great group to work with as well, and they're also well set up too. Another consideration for us too is that they have already established a lot of infrastructure. In terms of operational infrastructure in both Norway and Sweden. And that's a big help for us too, because we can springboard off that. It's not like we need to spend the next 2 years building up basic infrastructure.
So that deal works for you quite well, because you'll be able to, as you say, put your money in the ground. So you've done a raise recently, about 3.6 million Canadian.
That's correct, yes.
Right. So what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, so basically with the fund, so what we've been doing the last couple of months, so since we announced the EMX deal, that was back the deal for the Scandinavian projects, which was back in August. I guess we've really been taking advantage of we know the winter is coming soon, so we've been trying to do as much in the field as we possibly can in terms of evaluating these projects. The next step for us, of course, is to complete that target generation work and then basically push them forward towards drilling. So we raised $3.6 million. We probably have somewhere between 2 and 2.5 at the moment still in Treasury because we have been pushing projects forward. Keeping in mind, we will keep an allocation for Domain, assuming that happens Q1. So we will keep an allocation apart. And the plan basically is as soon as we can complete the target generation work on the Scandinavian assets, we'll go into the permitting process. And that, like Canada, is probably about 2 months. So the idea is that basically, once we're comfortable that we've looked at enough of the project to say, okay, here's our top 10 or these are the top targets we have on the project, we'll go into the permitting system, and then the plan is to start drilling. I think probably the most advanced of the projects right now would be the 2 Norwegian copper projects. So more than likely, the first drilling we will see will be on those, and then Sweden will come a little bit down the track, I think.
Okay, so can you break that down for me? 3.6 is broken up how, if you don't mind?
Sure. Yeah. So the 3.6. So as I say, so we had. So basically, we've been since we raised that, we've obviously been pushing forward on the Scandinavian project. So there's been a lot of work going on the ground on all 3 projects. So we have field crews on all of those. So I guess if I take a high level step back, basically. Probably more than half of that will go into the Scandinavian projects. So as I say, we will keep the small allocation, that 450K plus or minus for Domain. Our corporate costs are actually relatively small because we actually share all of our resources except for, if I come back to the ex-Mariana team. So we basically split the resources with Awali Resources. So if I look at, we have our CFO, our investor relations, all of our team basically is shared with Awali Resources. So effectively, we can be very efficient on that. And in fact, Matt, we don't even have a corporate office in Vancouver, right? Because to me, we have obviously a formal address there, but we're obviously conscious of making sure we get all that money into the ground as best as we can. So most of the budget will go towards the Scandinavian projects. We'll keep a small portion for Domain, and the rest, as I say, we just want to push these projects forward as quickly as we can. So.
Okay, and you had to deal with some debt as well, didn't you guys? In terms of
That's right, yeah.
The directors were owed a lot of money. Yeah. How did you treat that?
So there was a little bit of debt to deal with as well. So basically, some of that cash also went to paying some debt. Now, some of it we could pay in shares, and some of it we had to pay in cash. So it was a bit of a mixed bag. So so that 3.6 million, I guess, to clean things up, to make sure we could push forward, and a lot of that debt was related to things that were basically associated with, things that we carried from the Argentina days, basically. So there was a little bit that needed to be sorted out there, just to clean things up and move forward properly. So
meaning what? You were owed money, other directors were owed money. The directors.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was, for example, I didn't take a salary for 2 years. For example, Matt. These are sort of things that I'm happy to give that commitment because we want to see the company be successful, right? So a lot of those were kind of debts that were accumulated in the books. Not saying that we ended up cashing them all in, but at the end of the day, just sort of demonstrates the commitment we made. And the team, a lot of people weren't paid for a long time, but believed in the story, believed in the team, and so really supported us. And I think that's an important thing, an important sort of characteristics of management too. They're very supportive and want to see this being successful.
Well, I'm kind of intrigued the difference between public and private. Private, when you don't pay yourself for 2 years, that's called being an entrepreneur. And then public, it's like, well, we'll pay ourselves at some point in the future, maybe if we can restructure things, or we can get someone to put some money into the company. So the debt isn't always forgiven. So what did you do here? I want to sort of know how committed you guys are, because obviously you're picking up salaries from other directorships that you hold, right? So when you say you're not owed, how did you charge for your time? It was a case of, I've done 20 hours this week, 100 hours this month. I need something, but it doesn't need to be a whole bunch of beans, but I need something. How do you think about it?
Yeah, so in my particular position, Matt, I was dedicated 100% to the company, right? So I don't have other, there's no other gigs. To be honest, I was basically living off, savings. Obviously, when we sold Mariana, we made some money out of that. So for me, it was something that it wasn't ideal, but it was manageable, right? So effectively what we did is we just, as I say, some of those debts that were carried in the books, were paid off with shares, and some were paid off in cash, and some, but the idea was really to clean up the books to make sure everything was squeaky clean so that we can start this on a solid footing. So,
and here you are today, $12 million company, raring to go with some assets. Can I just ask, did you make a lot of money yourself at Mariana, or was that just for other shareholders?
Yeah, no, we did okay. I mean, look, I guess our sort of MO is to take large positions ourselves in the companies, and in the case of Capella, I'm a 6 or 7% shareholder too, so I obviously want to see it be successful too, because not only is it great for other shareholders, to be honest, it's also good for me, right? So we always make sure that we're really aligned with shareholders, because I think that's really important too. If you need to have some skin in the game, otherwise, people will say, well, hey, this guy's not aligned with us, right? So I think that's a key point in all of the companies I've been involved in. We try to take as much of a position in the company as we can ourselves, right? So
okay. You also had a couple of Argentinian assets which you've disposed of. Have you received actual cash for those, or again, are those sort of long-term option payments to you?
Yeah, so I'd say they're more long-term, Matt, in the sense of so of the two dispositions or divestitures we've had. So one is Sierra Blanca. We did a joint venture with Austral Gold, who happened to be the neighbors. It was an obvious thing to put the two projects together, sell it to our neighbors. That will be productive for the company, but that's more of a longer term thing. There was a small upfront payment of, $100K US. But the real, juicy part for us is sort of when you get to year 4 or year 5 of that agreement. So that's something for a little bit further down the track. In the case of the second divestiture, which was the Las Calandrias, that was the deal with Cerrado Gold. That's something more imminent in the sense of it's more shares that we will be getting. And obviously, we are also banking that Cerrado will do very, very well, not just on that project, but on other projects. And I should add too that, they have a fantastic mining operation next door at Don Nicolas, which is their main operation. And so there's a lot of synergies with pulling our projects into that sort of overall infrastructure there. So I think it'll be a great deal. And again, but the shareholding, again, not saying that it's something we want to liquidate now. I think give it a year, give these guys the potential to really get some runs on the board, to add value to their assets. And I think down the track that's something we would obviously look to liquidate, and it's great for Capella shareholders basically. So I think it's a good deal given the circumstances and given where Argentina is right now. I think it's a pretty good deal for the shareholders. And
obviously the market's reacted since July. No one really cared up until then, I don't think, but certainly what was going on in Argentina. Markets reacted. What do you think you need to come back with in terms of how you develop the Scandinavian story to continue that movement, continue that interest?
Yeah, look, it's a good question, Matt. I think fundamentally, people want to see drilling and discovery, right? That's first and foremost from an investor point of view, right? So, you can generate as many geophysical anomalies and geochemical anomalies as you like, et cetera. But really, at the end of the day, what people want to see is drilling. I do think that with the portfolio we have right now, so if I forget Canada for a second, but if I just look at the Norwegian assets, I think, both of those projects have walk-up drill targets. So, effectively there are targets we could literally, if we had the permits in hand, walk in tomorrow and drill. But I just want to be a little bit more systematic first. Keep in mind, we've only had these for a couple of months. So I just want to make sure that before we drill, we really are drilling the best targets we have. But we are conscious of the fact that we want to get some drilling happening, because that really is what excites the market. That's what people want to see. They want to see the drill rig turning, right? And for us too, as a geologist, that's the exciting part of the business too. So the game obviously for us, or the key thing for us, is to get these into drilling as quickly as we can. So
okay, so you're hunting VMS deposits. You're going to hopefully start drilling soon. We can expect to see some drill results starting to come out. You haven't got a whole bunch of cash right now, which puts you in a precarious position. You're going to have to go back and talk to the market pretty early next year to kind of, once you start understanding exactly what you have.
Yeah, so there's two things I'll add there, Matt, and one is that obviously the key for us is to get some drilling happening. So I think if we can, on the Norwegian assets, with the money we currently have, that's not going to be enough for a mega drill program. But if we can get some early good results and demonstrate the upside potential here, really demonstrate to people what we've been telling them, I think that will really help the story. The other thing, too, to keep in mind is from the last financing, we do have a lot of warrants that kick in at 12 cents Canadian. And if we can get those to kick in, that could potentially bring in, $7 million Canadian, right? So it's a significant. So there's a couple of options we have, but I guess at the end of the day, what we want to demonstrate is what we've been telling people. These are high potential projects. They're just the Norwegian copper projects are fantastic. The Swedish gold project's great. They're all in districts that we can make work, and let's make it work. But we do have to be drilling to show that potential, right? So for us, the key is get the drill rig out there, get some good results out, show people that this is what we've been talking about, and then I think it becomes like a snowball effect after that, right? Once you've got a few good drill hits, then people can see the story, they understand the story, and then once you can show the upside, then people are on board. So that's basically what we're aiming for, is to have drilling on multiple projects at the same time. So
brilliant. Thanks, Eric. It was a bit messy. You've tidied it up. You got some potentially exciting targets. Let's see what you do. Stay in touch. Pick up the phone when there's something to say, okay? I'll be interested to follow
that
this.
Sounds good, Matt. Look, I hope that sort of covered, sort of most of the basis. I mean, and if it was a bit wishy-washy or wobbly, I mean, we can always redo bits of it. But I think it's kind of a good introduction so that people at least know what the mindset is. And look, we just, we're not people to, as you say, we're not the white noise in the back. I hope we're sort of a cut above the rest in the sense of, offering decent management, decent projects, and we've done it before, right? I mean, so, that's really, to my mind, I think the key thing. So.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.